Oh, I was going to say good morning all. Maybe I say good morning few at this point. But what a beautiful morning, hey? Look at that. I've just talking with one or two, you just sort of say a bit of sunshine just does so much, doesn't it? When we've felt like we've been steady grey and wet, apart from Trav, who's been away on a lovely holiday. It's all relative, it's all relative. As you know, our time here is to be able to just reflect upon the goodness of God. And so what we invite from you is, am I seeing something of the goodness of God? Because I want to say this, and it isn't just to be clever or anything, but say God is always good. And there are always good things that are happening. And sometimes we can just be a little bit blasé and not always be noticing. So by calling our attention to it and saying, how's my week been? What's been happening in my life? Or is it not just a personal thing? It might be out there that we're starting to observe. I'm seeing things happening in the world around me, or a bit bigger even, and saying, I think God is at work. Great for us to hear your perspective, your testimony, your story. So it doesn't have to be huge. It can be some little thing, and we'll rejoice in that as we'll rejoice in the big things too. Anybody about to do that and hop out of their seat? You ready? Steve, Lola, come on, darling. You come up. You come up. There you go. We got right there where the blue bit is.
Well, this is to help everyone else feel good about their one. When Rob said little ordinary, well, it was lovely for me. So we got 4 grown-up children and everyone's all busy, and the other week we all decided we need to make intentional time to spend time, you know, like us parents, with one child, just because they're all busy and they go to work and they've got grandchildren and, you know. So I'd made an appointment with one daughter to have coffee with her, and she was working most of the week, and we had our time and our day, and the cafe was in Croydon Main Street, which is really busy. I don't know if you've ever tried parking in Croydon Main Street. You never sort of can. I was a bit early and waiting at the coffee and hoping there'd be a car park because it was raining and daughter was coming from work and it would have been nice. And I really was just, this sounds really dumb, but I really was praying for a car park. Lord, let this daughter find a car park. I was standing right near the cafe and looking at all the car. And then this car right here just drew out, pulled out. Oh, that would have been, that big white car's coming in. Then I realised that big white car was my daughter.
Yeah, he's attentive to car parks too. I'm not great at asking for them, but Lola is. She's doing that thing all the time and seeing it happen. It's really good, really good. Yeah, come on, Steve. Nice to hear from you.
I've had an interesting week because I have a regular 3-hour worship night that I get online for, and Monday night was interesting for me because as I'm listening to the songs and reflecting on what God's saying to me in it, I realised I needed to repent because God's done an awful lot of work in difficult circumstances with me over the last 12 months. And I discovered that I was taking some of the things that God had done in my life and making them my own and taking the glory for them. And all the glory has to go to Him. All the thanks has to go to Him. So I just repented. I texted some friends who I was on the show with what I'd done, and they also went and repented. And then in the middle of the week I was talking to someone who's been praying for my situation at present, and she said the same thing. She said, yeah, we often see God do incredible things in our lives, or small things that we've been struggling with for a long time that suddenly we overcome. And often our first thing is to turn to one another and give thanks, which is great to do, but it's Jesus that's done the work in us, and it's Him that we need to give our thanks to first. You know, all of our first fruits, no matter what it is, he is the one that deserves our first fruits. So it was a great lesson for me, and hope it blesses you too, guys.
That's good, mate. Thank you. Thank you for saying that. Yeah. Yes, that is good. These insights that we are given to see. So very good. Anybody else? Anybody else with a story? Oh, there's more people coming in. There's probably some stories walking in right now. But Tony's got one. Come on, mate. Okay.
Thank you. Well, I've had a very interesting week. I'm doing the medical thing again, getting another knee operation. So I've been seeing doctors and all that paraphernalia. And I've got a new Pakistani doctor. So he asked me how I was. And I said, oh, yeah, I'm fine. And I just mentioned that I had a faith with him, which is basically a relatively new thing for me, to come out with people that I don't know really and talk about my faith. But then I went in to see the surgeon a few days later, and he wants to do surgery on me, but I put it off for many years and just keep on going. But there was another gentleman in there, and he was scared out of his mind. He was 76. He kept on walking around the room and everything. And I said to his wife, what's wrong with him? She said he's full of arthritis and he's really scared of the operation. So I tried to calm him down a bit. Last Sunday, when I went from here, I went to a little restaurant, which I regularly go to and have a meal. And there was a couple that came in. They saw my car. They used to be my neighbours, and they came in. And she said, can we sit down with you? And I said, yeah, fine. And she said she had pancreatic cancer and she was dying. So I thought, well, this is a really good chance to be able to, you know, sort of say how I handle very difficult situations. So I sat down there and I told her how you've got to get yourself spiritually right. You know, so I suggested she went to church. She spent a bit of time praying, and so she left in a really good mood. But I'd also like to say sort of one reaction I had here one day when Di was preaching. We were talking about Jesus in the Sea of Galilee with the disciples, and it came up. I've heard it many times, but it didn't hit me like it did after this. Was Jesus asked them to stop doing what they were doing and follow him. And instead of just taking the story that way, I looked at it from my perspective. What would I do if Jesus said, listen, Tony, stop doing what you're doing. I don't want you doing anything that you're doing now. I want you to follow me. And I had a problem. Not a problem I wouldn't do it. I had a problem I didn't know what I'd do. And I think this is where, from my perspective, I've got to develop, you know, take in things. You know, you can listen to sermons, you can listen to all sorts of things. And if it's just a story, that's all it is. Unless you can bring it into your life and try and change it, then we will get somewhere, I think. I've got many other things I'd like to say, but I'll take too long. One thing God, I think, was telling me is we've got 2 ears, which means we need to spend twice as much time listening. 1 mouth, 50% less talking, and I'm too much of a talker, so I'll give it back.
Well done, Tony. Well done. I think that was a good way to bring that in. That was beautiful. Yeah, true for all of us, I think. Mark, come on down. How has God been good for you, Mark, today?
Well, I was sort of thinking, which bit? But Tony just gave me a good lead in, because it's so true. 2 ears. And I'm a firm believer that God puts into your mind what your next step is to be. My challenge can be that I get too many next steps and I trip over myself, maybe. Or maybe I'm just waltzing. And I do feel like that more often than not. But 2 weeks ago, I realised I didn't tell you the end of the story. You don't even remember. But our Iranian friend had texted me that morning to say, is it today that we're going to meet up? And by the end of that day, I was in a Zoom with her and one of the mums from her kids' school, who had specifically asked her, come on over and we can read the Bible together. Now, this other lady had no idea where she was at in terms of her faith. But anyway, she was going to go. And so because we'd had this little texting in the morning, she invited me along. So here I was in a Zoom with a lady I didn't know, but she was leading the way, and she's got room to develop relationship, which is beautiful. And I'm going to have a Zoom with her again tonight. And anyway, it's complex, but God's on the move. And in the meantime, our Iranian friend has an Iranian New Testament, a Farsi New Testament. Because I was able to give it to her, offer it to her, because of this other lady, Ruth's instigation. And then there's more.
Good on you, Matt. There will always be more, I think, with what's going on around the Bornemans right now. That's fantastic. Really, really good. And look who's walked into the room. Ron and Anne Matheson. Bless you guys. How good to see you both. How very good to see you. There's going to be heaps of stories that these people could tell. And yeah, please, Ben, come on down. This is great.
I don't usually do these. Just an example of how God uses all things for good. A couple of weeks ago, one of our people had a medical thingy in the car park, and we had to get an ambulance in, and it really threw out my plans for that moment. We were supposed to meet my children at the Heart and Soul Cafe. So instead, we ended up waiting here, moving a car to this person's place. So we were quite late. So we arrive at the cafe really late and line up to order our drinks. And the person in front was someone who had come to this church a while ago and was really upset because a really close friend of his had died that morning. So he said, can I join you? And we're like, of course. So we were able to encourage him. And it wouldn't have happened without all of the things that had gone before it. So all things work together for good.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Ben. That's so good. So very good. Oh, Gary, this is fantastic. I thought Rob's going to do some filler, but it's far better that you share something.
Yeah, wouldn't be a Sunday morning without a wedding story, right? So one of the things that Sharon's been a little bit... I have got permission to share this, by the way. It's not my story, but I have got permission. One of the things Sharon has been concerned about is a wedding dress. And because finances are fairly tight and everything else. And so anyway, she went out yesterday with a friend of hers to see what she could find, and they went to a few shops, and they finished up in at one stage they weren't really finding anything, and Sharon, her friend isn't a believer. Sharon said, I just need to pray about this for a minute. So Sharon went off by herself and prayed and came back, and then they went and had a coffee, and then there was an op shop over the road, so they went over there. And there on the shelf in the op shop was a brand new wedding dress for about a tenth of the price it would have sold for new, and it fitted perfectly. So all worked out exactly as it was meant to.
Oh, so we just love the stepping stones we're taking with your approaching wedding, Gary. It's fantastic. Just beautiful. Just beautiful. Yeah, because I'm here, I just want to share this good story out of yesterday. Yesterday happened to be the birthday of our youngest child, Simon, who turned 42, so that puts me up there somewhere. So it was his birthday, but we'd sort of got together to be celebrating a grandson who also has a birthday, and it was his 18th birthday. So we were particularly gathering for Harry Weeks to have his 18th birthday. We were to have gone to a Thai restaurant. There was a little bit of urgency about the way that it was booked, and unfortunately a restaurant that had the same name, they'd made the booking for the other side of the city rather than the one at Eastland that they thought they were going for. So suddenly we found ourselves having to do takeaway and bring it back to the Weeks' home. But the beautiful thing out of it all was that it did give us a much better setting in which to just take time and share the things that we saw in Harry, the things that we're able to bless and draw out. And most everyone sort of had something to say. And it was such an honouring thing. And and Simon was being there too. I found myself with a hand on his shoulder while he's praying for young Harry. So it was just such a full moment. So this is very much me indulging myself here, but it's the goodness of God when you get these gifts of people that he puts in our lives that makes up the fabric of our lives, and you just say, oh God, you are so very good. So just wanted to share that with you this morning. My cup is full. That's what I'm probably trying to say to you. Time to break. We're going to take a little break now. Opportunity to say hello to Ron and Anne in between time before worship kicks in. So let's just enjoy this moment together. Bless you guys. Thank you for the readiness to come this morning.